It's September 2nd here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with the Yoon Suk-yeol administration's National Cybersecurity Basic Plan. The plan is that South Korea will take a preemptive and offensive response to fast-evolving cyber threats, from hacking and cryptocurrency threats to deepfakes and disinformation spread by malicious actors like North Korea. The leaders of the ruling and main opposition parties, in their first official talks over the weekend, agreed to set up a joint consultative body on people's livelihood-related issues, though the two sides are yet to reach agreement on more controversial issues. Protests have broken out across Israel after Israeli forces recovered the bodies of 6 hostages that it claimed Hamas had killed in Gaza. Israel's largest labor union has called for a strike, warning that the entire Israeli economy will shut down on Monday. South Korea unveiled its pan-governmental approach to tackling diverse cyber threats, particularly from North Korea, which are becoming more and more complex by the day. Our top office correspondent Oh Soo-young starts us off.
South Korea will take a preemptive and offensive response to fast-evolving cyber threats, from hacking and cryptocurrency theft to deepfakes and disinformation spread by malicious actors, namely North Korea. National Security Advisor Shin Won-sik unveiled on Sunday the Yoon Suk-yeol administration's National Cybersecurity Basic Plan, a whole-of-government effort to tackle virtual threats to South Korea's national security, financial institutions, public infrastructure and social stability.
The government will strengthen the Republic of Korea's cybersecurity capabilities, providing a safe cyberspace for citizens and businesses, and strive to become a global pivotal state that fulfills its roles and responsibilities in the international community.
Given the increasingly sophisticated and widespread nature of cybersecurity threats, a total of 14 government ministries and agencies will work on 100 cybersecurity tasks, with the National Security Council acting as the control tower. For instance, the Unification Ministry and the National Police Agency will jointly counter and eradicate North Korea's influence operations, which are aimed at stirring social division through fake news, propaganda and other such tactics. The Defense Ministry will reinforce cyber operation capabilities and work with the Science Ministry to cultivate military cyber specialists. Meanwhile, the Korea Communications Commission will establish standards on tackling disinformation. The Basic Plan prevents follow-up measures to the government's National Cybersecurity Strategy released in February, which comprises of 5 main points. First, Seoul will step up cyber defense activities and establish the basis for responding to influence operations. Second, it will aim to strengthen cooperation with other liberal democracies to create a safe and secure cyberspace worldwide. The government will also strengthen cyber resilience by safeguarding critical national infrastructure, as well as information and communication platforms widely used by members of the public. It also seeks to boost investment in research and development to grow a competitive edge in critical and emerging technologies, and forge cooperation between individuals, firms and government to bolster operation capabilities across a range of sectors. According to the National Intelligence Service, South Korea's public institutions last year were hit with around 1.62 million cyber attacks per day, with 80% of those cases originating from North Korea. The cash poor regime has also stolen over $3 billion of cryptocurrency since 2017, with half of that invested in nuclear and missile development, according to experts. Going forward, Seoul hopes to enact a basic cybersecurity law which would enable domestic intelligence and investigative agencies to respond to international and state-backed hacking groups. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
The leaders of the ruling and the main opposition parties held their first official talks over the weekend, where they agreed on the need to prioritize people's livelihoods. However, finding common ground on controversial issues proved to be more difficult. Our political correspondent Shin Ha-young reports.
The leaders of the rival parties took the first step to breaking a long-standing deadlock between the two parties. On Sunday, the leader of the ruling People Power Party, Han Dong-un, and his counterpart from the main opposition Democratic Party, Lee Jae-myung, held their first official talks at the National Assembly, with each party's top policymaker and spokesperson present. According to the spokespersons of the two parties, the two leaders have decided to set up a joint consultative body to address issues related to people's livelihoods where both parties have a consensus. The joint statement also included measures to address the dispute related to medical reform.
The leaders decided to urge the government to strengthen emergency care during the Chuseok holiday and agreed to discuss measures at the parliamentary level.
Both sides agreed to boost support for semiconductors, AI, and to ease the debt burden on small businesses and households. The two sides will also swiftly push for a legislative process to extend parental leave for working parents, as well as increase penalties and improve prevention measures for deepfake sex crimes. However, the party leaders failed to find common ground on controversial issues such as providing relief vouchers to the entire population and starting a special prosecution probe into the death of a Marine during last year's flood rescue operations.
The DPC's cash handouts is a measure for people's livelihood, but taxpayer money is limited. We prefer to provide tailored welfare based on individual needs rather than giving everyone the same benefits.
Since this is an economic and fiscal policy rather than a welfare policy, there's no need to disadvantage higher taxpayers. If we can't offer extra help, we should at least ensure fair support for everyone.
They also failed to reach an agreement on abolishing financial investment income tax, but agreed to discuss ways to tackle structural issues in the stock market. Although a major breakthrough wasn't achieved, both parties believe that the first meeting was still valuable for confirming each other's views.
In terms of people's livelihood and economy, the meeting was significant as it may help guide future legislation. The leaders emphasized the need for more frequent discussions.
It was the first time in 11 years that leaders of the rival parties held official talks, and attention is now on whether this will lead to sustained cooperation between the two parties. 신하영, Arirang News.
On Sunday, Russian missiles hit a shopping and entertainment complex in Ukraine's northeastern city of Kharkiv, leaving at least 47 people injured, including 5 children. This follows Russia's authorities reporting damage to its industrial sites by a Ukrainian drone attack on several areas, including Moscow. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky once more appealed to his allies for permission to use Western-supplied missiles further inside Russian territory, aiming to diminish Russia's capacity to target Ukrainian civilian areas. Tens of thousands of Israelis took to the streets on Sunday, demanding that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu do more to secure the release of hostages held by Hamas, following the recovery of the bodies of 6 people during an IDF operation in Gaza. According to the Times of Israel, 6 people were found dead in a tunnel in southern Gaza over the weekend and were later identified as hostages being held by Hamas. However, Netanyahu slammed the Palestinian militant group for refusing to negotiate and vowed revenge for the deaths of the hostages. The Israeli leader also said the government will continue to pursue negotiations in hopes of getting the remaining hostages home. We are just 2 months away from the U.S. election, and the two candidates are taking 2 clear paths when it comes to dealing with North Korea and handling the regime's leader, Kim Jong-un. For more, we are joined by Professor Joel Atkinson this morning. Welcome back, Professor.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you.
So, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump said last Friday, that getting along with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is a good thing. Why boast of ties with Kim Jong-un now?
Well, it's certainly not out of character for former President Trump. He's said similar things before. It's hard to know, of course, what's going on inside his head, but my sense is this started with trying to outdo Obama. When Obama was leaving office, he basically told Trump that North Korea would be a huge problem. So Trump was boasting about how rather than being a problem, Kim Jong-un was writing him beautiful letters. Now the Democrats are attacking him for it, and his response is to double down on how right he was. Who knows what effect this has on voters, but this approach to criticism has certainly worked for him in the past.
Right, and what's notable is that Trump's Democratic rival, Kamala Harris, on the other hand, now she's made clear that she won't, quote, cozy up to dictators like Kim Jong-un. Now, what does that mean, cozying up with dictators like him?
Yes, well, the Harris side hopes to portray Trump as not representing core American values of democracy and human rights, to convey to voters that electing him again would not only harm America's standing in the world, but also its security. And her statement also signals that she will continue Biden's approach. The Biden administration stated that it's willing to talk with North Korea without preconditions, but it has also refused to make upfront concessions, such as halting military exercises or condemnations of North Korea's human rights abuses. Presumably, Harris's plan is to do more of the same.
Well, but both the Republican and Democratic parties are yet to draw, specific outlines for North Korea's denuclearization. To be more specific, the word CVID is yet to be mentioned. Now, why should we expect it coming soon?
Well, I think North Korea and its nuclear weapons have become much less of a priority in Washington. That's not to say it isn't seen as a threat or that steps are not being taken to counteract it. But it's not an issue that the highest level officials and potential officials on both sides think is worth spending their time and energy on. Not only has there been no real progress on it for decades, but there's now what they see as more pressing security issues like Russia and Ukraine, Israel, and above all China that need to be actively managed.
Well, soon it's not just a leadership change over in the U.S. There's going to be one over in Japan as well. And there are concerns that the trilateral cooperation between Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo, may not stay as strong as it's been. Could that be the case?
Well, I expect that if Harris is elected, she will continue Biden's approach, as I mentioned. Probably the next Japanese prime minister will continue in the same manner as Kishida. That would mean that trilateral cooperation will continue to strengthen at the leadership level, but not much will be done to effectively bring the Korean public along with the process. So the wild card, of course, is Trump. The trilateral cooperation doesn't fit with his approach to foreign policy. What's more, since Biden boasts about it, Trump will be even less enthusiastic about it. But, having said that, the logic for it is so strong, given the increasing pressure from China and North Korea and even Russia, that I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to strengthen, even if Trump wins in November, and even if the Japanese side doesn't work harder to win over the South Korean public.
Well, before I let you go, Professor Atkinson, is there anything that South Korea should be mindful of ahead of the leadership changes in the two countries, Tokyo and Washington?
Well, as I mentioned, it's no secret that President Yoon's outreach to Japan has not been that popular in South Korea. At least some of that is due to the Japanese side not moving further and faster to resolve history issues and so on. This might shift somewhat if Ishiba Shigeru becomes prime minister. He's talked about the need for that, but it doesn't seem likely that he will be chosen. In terms of the US, Harris has some energy behind her. She's ahead in the polls, but the US Electoral College favors Republicans over the popular vote somewhat. So I guess the thing South Korea needs to be mindful of is that this election, which is going to be very consequential, is still very much a toss-up. It could still go either way. So it still very much requires careful preparation and attention.
Professor Atkinson, thank you so much for your time and your insight this morning. We appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Over in Paris, in their Paralympic debut, badminton players Jung Jae-gyun and Yu Su-young won silver in the men's doubles. In Sunday's final, they lost 0-2 to the Chinese team, the gold medalists from the 2020 Tokyo Paralympics. Both could add to their medals tally as they will compete in bronze medal matches in their singles events. Now in boccia, Jung So-young claimed a silver medal in the BC2 women's individual gold medal match. She lost with a final score of 1-4, giving the gold to Portuguese player Cristina Gonçalves. This is Jung's first medal in 12 years, and she is now aiming on winning gold in the team event starting Tuesday. Hobbies show no concerns regarding gender distinctions, and nowadays this looks to be the case for those involving exercise, including sports, where such stereotypes still may exist. Our Choi Soo-hyung tells us more.
A private ballet academy in Gwangjin-gu district in Seoul. 42-year-old Seo Yun-ho, who is a government official, has been learning ballet for 7 years.
About 10 years ago, I watched a ballet performance and thought it was really great. Most of the people I watched together with were also doing ballet as a hobby, and they encouraged me to try it too.
He said a 19-minute class burns as many calories as a football game. Within just 5 minutes of starting, his whole body is already covered in sweat. As the only man in the evening class, Seo said he doesn't have time to feel embarrassed or think about being the only male.
As you can see, I'm sweating a lot. There's no time to think about others. I'm too busy just doing ballet. They are just my colleagues, that's all. I don't really worry about it. I just dance hard without thinking much, like everyone else.
Kim Min-kyung, the director of Paralympics, said that more men are asking about ballet lately, either to fix their body shape or simply because they love dancing. She added that men can start ballet in shorts and a t-shirt, just like in any other fitness activity.
Men often hesitate because of the outfit at first, but you can wear whatever feels comfortable, just like when you're in a fitness center. Ballet has many benefits like improving posture, so I highly recommend it for men too.
The distinction between calm and intense exercises is now just a matter of looks. At a Brazilian jiu-jitsu academy named Movement in the Seocho district of Seoul, the place was packed with people learning various techniques. Recently, many women have become interested in martial arts, so many have started taking classes in sports like boxing and jiu-jitsu. Master Im To said that about 40% of his students are women currently, as interest in self-defense has grown.
Due to hormonal differences, it is generally not easy for women to beat men in physical combat in martial arts. But in jiu-jitsu, you learn technical skills that can overcome these physical gaps. So it's often said to be a sport where women can beat men. I think that's why more women are interested in it as a self-defense sport.
Kim Mi-ji, who has been practicing jiu-jitsu for 6 years, said it helped her regain a healthy lifestyle and become more energetic. She understands why some women might feel uncomfortable about the inevitable contact between bodies in jiu-jitsu.
Since it's a sport mostly done by men, people often ask how I can do it with such body contact. But it's really just exercise. In fact, it's more fun for women because it gives you the confidence to handle yourself in any dangerous situation. I think that makes it even more enjoyable.
Susan, who has been living in South Korea for 7 years, has spent most of her free time here practicing jiu-jitsu.
I highly recommend it to everybody, especially to women, because I think it's very empowering and you really realize the strength that you have and you may not realize that you have it.
The common understanding that personal beauty and confidence don't require gender distinctions is becoming one of the reasons gender boundaries in hobbies are fading out. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Yoon Se-young, filling in for Kim Si-young, and this is The World Now. We start off in Germany, where a far-right party is set to win a state election for the first time since World War II. According to the exit polls and partial results that Germany's public broadcasters have reported for Sunday's election, the far-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD, is leading with 32 to 33% of the vote in the state of Thuringia in the eastern part of the country. The center-right Christian Democratic Union, the main national opposition party, follows with about 24% of the vote. The surge in support for populist parties in Thuringia has been attributed to internal government divisions, anti-immigration sentiment, and skepticism towards German military support for Ukraine. This area, once part of the East Germany, is economically less developed than Western Germany and is where the AfD has its strongest support. According to a recent ABC News and Ipsos poll, Vice President Kamala Harris is maintaining a more favorable position in the race against the former President Donald Trump and is also running a better overall presidential campaign. In a nationwide survey, 56% of Americans rated Harris' campaign as excellent or good, compared to only 41% for Trump, with most viewing Trump's campaign negatively. In particular, 93% of Democrats, 56% of independents, and 24% of Republicans gave a positive evaluation of Harris' campaign. In contrast, only 79% of Republicans, 38% of independents, and 13% of Democrats had a positive view of Trump's campaign. While Harris hasn't seen a significant post-convention bounce in polling numbers, she has increased support from female voters, further widening the gender gap. Meanwhile, according to a Kremlin spokesperson on Sunday, Russia views Harris as a more predictable opponent than Trump, but noted that relations with Washington are unlikely to improve regardless of the outcome. Now to Turkey, where thousands of demonstrators gathered in Istanbul on Sunday to protest against a recently passed law they say puts stray dogs at risk of being killed. Last month, lawmakers passed legislation aimed at removing millions of stray dogs from the streets due to safety concerns. However, animal rights advocates fear the law will lead to widespread culling or that stray dogs will end up in overcrowded shelters where disease is rampant. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan stated that the law is necessary to address what he called a stray dog problem. Protesters held posters that read "Shelters are death camps" and demanded the law be repealed. A 4-year-old boy named Ariel, who accidentally broke a 3,500-year-old jar, returned to the museum a week after the incident. The hacked museum in Haifa, Israel, stated that they wanted to invite the boy back for educational purposes and to ensure the young family felt welcomed. During the visit, the child presented the museum with a clay vase he had made himself. The boy had visited the museum with his family on August 23rd when he accidentally broke the ancient jar. This jar was originally made between 2200 and 1500 BC to hold wine oil.
Good morning. The capital area in Gangwon-do province woke up to a breezy, wet morning, and these rain clouds should move to certain parts of the country as the day goes on. And until tomorrow, east of Gangwon-do and Jeju could see 5 to 40 millimeters of showers, and the rest of the country could see 5 to 20 millimeters. After a sunny and scorching weekend, central parts of the country will get heat relief under cloudy skies today, going down 3 to 5 degrees lower than yesterday. However, Daegu and other southern provinces will see heat alerts remaining in place with highs hovering above 30 degrees Celsius. And Busan and Jeju will be topping out at 31 degrees this afternoon. Seoul, Chuncheon topping out at pleasant 27 degrees. But today's relief does not mean the summer heat has come to an end. Temperatures jump right back to 30s in the capital under partly to mostly sunny skies this week. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day and Arirang. Have a wonderful start to the week.